Is it possible to execute a file after extraction from a 7-zip self-extracting archive, SFX, archive? I'm trying to make a compressed deploy-able application. Currently I'm taking a set of files that I've published from my IDE, Visual and NBSP, Studio and NBSP, 2008, WPF published application, and compressing them in a 7-zip SFX archive. My users have asked if they can one-click install from the 7-zipx. There is a parameter list when I'm creating the archive. Is there a way to set some sort of combination of parameters to invoke the installer executable that is extracted? Unfortunately, the 7-zip documentation doesn't seem to cover this scenario. I've seen several paid applications that do something similar to this, but I'm trying to keep the tool that I'm writing free of licensed code so that we can use it internally.
You will need to download the Elenza SDK from 7-zip. The installer.txt file contains documentation. .7zsd.sfx is SFX module for installers. 7zsd.sfx uses msvcrt.dll. SFX modules for installers allow to create installation program. Such module extracts archive to temp folder and then runs specified program and removes temp files after program finishing. Self-extract archive for installers must be created as joining 3 files. SFX_module, installer_config, 7z_archive. Installer_config is optional file. You can use the following command to create installer self-extract archive. You need to create a config.txt file. Config file contains commands for installer. File begins from string at install at UTF-8 and ends with at install-end at. File must be written in UTF-8 encoding. File contains string pairs. id_string equals value. Title for messages. Begin prompt message. Progress value can be yes or no. Default value is yes. Run program command for executing. Default value is setup.exe. Substring %t will be replaced with path to temporary folder, where files were extracted. Directory prefix for run program. Default value is \. Execute file name of file for executing. Execute parameters for execute file. For example,
the agreed solution is correct, but it actually doesn't help in explaining what you actually need to do. I read this in many other solutions and I could not find full and complete simple instructions on how to do this. Are you confused like I was? Please read my blog post which provides step-by-step instructions on how to achieve what Molly 7244 has posted. How to make a self-extracting archive that runs your setup.x with 7-zip SFX switch. It was brought to my attention that links can become dead, so here are the steps from my blog. Step 1. Set up your installation folder. To make this easy, create a folder C:\. This is where we will copy all the required files. Step 2. To 7-zip your installers. Go to the folder that has your Z and your setup.x. Select both the Z and the setup.x. Right-click and choose 7-zip and GT. Add to archive. Name your archive installer.7z or a name of your choice. Click OK. You should now have installer.7z. Copy this .7z file to your C:\bar. Step 3. Get the 7z Extra SFX extension module from the 7z SDK. You need to download the 7z SDK. Follow this link to go to download 7zip. You need to download the 19.00 version, as at DEC 2019, as the beta does not contain the correct files. A SDK download link. Extract the 7zip SDK files. Copy the file 7zsd.sfx from the bin directory of the SDK to C:\bar. Step 4. Set up your config.txt. I would recommend using Notepad++ to edit this text file, as you will need to encode a new TF8. The following instructions are using Notepad++. Using Windows Explorer, go to C:\bar. Enter something like this. Edit this replacing software v1.0.0.0 with your product name. Notes on the parameters and options for the setup file are here. Checkpoint. You should now have a folder C:\bar. Installer.7z, 7zs.sfx, config.txt. Step 5. Create the archive. These instructions I found on the web, but nowhere did it explain any of the 4 steps above. Open a CMD window, Window plus RMGT, CMD and GT, press Enter. In the command window type the following. Look in C:\bar. You are finished. Run the installer. Double-click on myinstaller.x and it will prompt with your message. Click OK and the setup.x will run. PS note on automation. Now that you have this working in your C:\bar, now you can just edit and run the install.bat every time you need to rebuild a new version of your deployment package.
You should also look at InSys. With it, you can create an installer that is compressed with the same method that 7zip uses, LSMA, so it should be roughly the same size, and you have full control over the installation process.
Building on JSeroffer74's answer, here is some additional info. Instead of 7zs.sfx, you can also use the file 7zs2.sfx. This is a much smaller version, 28 kilobits versus 140 kilobits, but it doesn't support the config.txt file. So you can just leave it out in the copy command. If you just want to create tiny configuration scripts, this lets you build smaller exe files. The smaller SFX module doesn't ask any questions. It extracts the files to a temporary folder as the other module, and then finds executable candidates. According to the source code, also available on the downloads page, in c/util/setup/setup.c, it weighs files differently based on their name and extension and then picks the highest scoring file. Both SFX modules automatically run as administrator, at least in Windows 10, and this cannot be configured. While this behavior might be desirable for system-wide setups, this may not always be the case. Also, This decision is only based on the file version data because there is no manifest included that explicitly tells Windows what to do. Windows compatibility looks at the file and finds strings like setup that lead to the elevation prompt. If you need an SFX module that doesn't ask for admin permissions, you could rebuild the SFX module from source, or simpler, edit its file version info with a resource editor like this one. Just remove the word setup from the file description field, in the case of the mentioned resource hacker compile the file, and save the exe file. You could also perform this step on the 7zs.sfx or 7zs2.sfx file directly and keep it somewhere so you can use it to build non-elevated SFX packages. And you can use this to fully customize the file version info to put your product name or anything in it that describes the payload.
Here's the problem.